Be mindful of the purpose of this study and reflection. For the refuge field, visualize Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and all the enlightened beings, Are Nagarjuna, Are Deva, Acharya Buddhapalita, Acharya Chandrakirti, Bodhisattva Chandradeva, Bodhisattva Chandrakshita, and so forth. And they're all loving, caring, and embracing you. Just let us take a few seconds to do the visualization meditation. And next, Dorji the field, visualize your two parents on the two sides. And all of them are sentient beings, including your family members, your children, human beings, animals, insects, hungry ghosts, hell beings, god and goddesses, asuras, and in fact, living men aside. And the purpose of this study and reflection is to remove the mental defilements, mud from the mixture of the mud and the gold, so the gold will become manifest. So the gold of the Buddha nature within us must be made manifest by removing the mental dirt. So that is done by the wisdom of emptiness. It is for this reason that the wisdom of emptiness is referred to as the liberating, the only liberating path, and all the rest, like the bodhicitta and so forth, they are required as the driving force for us to push this wisdom of emptiness, employ this wisdom of emptiness to cut the mental defilements so the Buddha nature becomes manifest. And visualizing that you are leading this and all sentient beings are joining you. So with this mind, let's turn to the screen sharing of the prayers. And teach by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. For you, the Buddha with Dharma, I bear homage. And teach by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. For you, the Buddha with Dharma, I bear homage. And teach by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. For you, the Buddha with Dharma, I bear homage. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness, no sameness. I prostrate to the consummate Buddha, the supreme among all teachers, the one who taught this peace, which is free of elaborations. I prostrate to the mothers of the hearers, the Bodhisattvas, and the Buddhas, who through the knowledge of all these hearers seeking pacification, complete peace, who through the knowledge of past causes those helping migrate the Jeev into the world, and who through the possession of omniscience helps subdue its expanded variety of teachings. The one who is transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. The teacher, Sugata, and protector to your mere frustrations.
It doesn't
The
matter.
one who has eliminated the web of conceptualizations and is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, eternally shines for the forever noble light rays to you, the Buddha, and your frustrations. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. So, okay, let us recite this mantra. As we recite this mantra, I'm going to quickly give you the meaning of this. The meaning is that finally, the way experiment which we did yesterday, bringing the two hands together and the sound of clap, came forth. So this sound of clap, which symbolizes the miseries, tension, anxiety, anguish in their life, and this sound of clap, when necessarily be created by the combination of two hands, likewise, the miseries they come into being by the two factors, the external factors and the internal factors. And for a short-term, immediate remedy, we need to tackle the external factors. But then for the long-term remedy, we need to tackle the internal remedies. And the internal remedies, what we learned is the self-grasping ignorance and self-centered attitude. And finally, all these mental defilements in the form of, let's say, the contaminant comments, afflictions, and so forth, they're all rooted to the self-grasping ignorance and the subtle stains in the form of cognitive obscurations. The gross ones, they stop you from achieving nirvana, or in the loose sense, what we talked about is that we have two things as the aspired goals. One is to be freed from all the fears of life, and the other one to expand our circle of joy, circle of happiness. So these two things, that we aspire, is something not confined to Buddhists, not confined to boys or girls. It's to everyone. Whether you are a boy or girl, it doesn't matter. Whether you're educated or uneducated, or Buddhist, non-Buddhist, or from this country, that country, it doesn't matter. Everybody sees these two goals. Now, putting this in a technical perspective, the freedom from the fears of life is technically referred to as nirvana. And the expansion of your love and joy, the infinity, that is referred to as Buddhahood. So these are the two things that we are seeking. Now to achieve that, we don't really have to get these two things from outside. These two are inside in actuality. These two things are there within us. But then why these are not visible is because these have been blocked by the mental defilements. So what are these mental defilements? It says, Om ye dharma hetu prabhava. All these phenomena arise from causes. Ye dharma, phenomena, hetu, cause, prabhava, arise. All these phenomena arise from causes. So this phenomena, particularly the phenomena of suffering, misery, tension, depression, and so forth, they don't arise randomly. They arise from the causes. So what are the causes? The causes are taught by the Tathagata. These causes, what attracts miseries, they are the mental defilements in the form of contaminant karmas, afflictions, self-grasping ignorance, complemented by self-centered attitude. These are all very clearly taught by the Tathagata. Then how to bring an end to these causes, the cessation of the causes as well, is taught by the great seer. How to bring an end to these is by resorting to a very powerful remedy to remove the mental dirt. That remedy is none other than the wisdom of emptiness, which we are studying now. So, this wisdom of emptiness is the actual axe or the actual knife or actual the instrument to cut, the axe to cut the poisonous tree of the mental defilements. But that must be used by somebody who's very enthusiastic, a woodcutter, who is very enthusiastic. So that is the metaphor for the bodhisattva, very enthusiastic motivation to benefit all sentient beings. So ready to pick up this very sharp axe of the wisdom of emptiness to cut this poisonous tree of the mental defilements. Okay, this says the meaning. Tesham Hyavata Tesham Chayo Nirodha. Hitum Tesham Tathagato Hyavatat. Hitum, the cause, the plural form of cause. Then Tesham, these, Tathagato Hyavatat. Tathagata is Tathagata Buddha. The Hyavatat is taught. Tesham Chayo, these, again these. Nirodha, cessation. How to bring an end to these causes. Evam is thus. Vati is taught. Mahashramanaya Swaha, by the great seer. So the meaning here is that why we have all these miseries is because of the respective causes of the mental defilements. And what are the mental defilements? They are very clearly taught by the Buddha. And Buddha did not create these mental defilements. Buddha discovered the presence of these mental defilements as responsible for our miseries. And how to bring an end to these? Again, the Buddha taught how to undo these mental defilements by resorting to the powerful remedy of the wisdom of emptiness, which we are studying now. Okay, with that in mind, let's recite it 3 times. And imagine that you are leading this and everybody is reciting this. And wherever you go, in new places, you're on airplane, train, cars, walking, or on trekking, adventure, whatever, just make the point that you recite this mantra for all the beings who are in these places. Because believe it or not, we are just handful of people studying this as a part of this program organized by Geopal Institute. But then there are, they say, human beings alone, 7 billion human beings, and then the non-human beings, the trillions and trillions, infinite the beings are there who are all suffering the way we are suffering now. So, if you recite this mantra for them, this will greatly help. They help them to be connected with the dharma to remove the mental defilements, and that the infinite happiness is exposed. Okay, with this motivation, with this very compassionate motivation to solve beings, and let us recite this and imagine that all these beings are reciting the same thing, reflecting the same thing along with you. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tatha gato yavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaya swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham tathagato hyavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaya swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham tathagato hyavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaya swaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of causes as well is taught by the great seer. Profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear light, and non-composite. Such is the nectar that Dharma has discovered. Finding no one who can fathom this teaching, in silence or retiring with the words. Beyond utterance, thought, and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unborn, unceased, and has the nature of space. Is the object of apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddhas of the three times of your business. All composite things are impermanent. All contaminated things are the nature of suffering. All phenomena are the nature of emptiness and selflessness. Transcending sorrow is peace. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is also everything wholesome. I go for refuge in the Guru. By the sound of the vibrant drum of Dharma, you liberate all pains and miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the end of the expanse of billions of aeons. The Buddha does not watch the negativities of beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realizations are not translated, and it is by teaching the truth of the suchness that the beings are liberated. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all the within miseries gloom. If you're attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you're attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you're attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there's grasping, you do not have the view. Okay, let's recite the Har Suta Mantra 3 times. And this mantra is extremely important, and particularly is in the first place, all the teachings, the essence of which can be seen in the Heart Sutra. It's for this reason that this particular short text is referred to as the Heart Sutra, heart, the essence. And from this, we see that this mantra, Yatha Gade Gade Paragade Parasamade Bodhisattva, this is the essence of the essence Heart Sutra. So let us recite this and imagine that this can be recited in many ways. One would be, say, with many reflections. One is to really be able to, of course, this most sophisticated version of reciting this mantra. As you recite this, where you are exposed to the full blueprint of the minor path to enlightenment. With the full blueprint, you should be aware. Okay, so Tiatha, here is thus. Or Gade Gade, go. Paragade, go beyond. Parasangade, go utterly beyond. Bodhiswaha, establish your awakening. So yesterday, we said, just wake up. If you don't want to suffer the effects of the dream, wake up. So the full awakening, Bodhiswaha, establish your full awakening. So the point is that as you recite this, one way of reciting this is by to constantly reflect on how one is to traverse from the first path, Gade, to the second Gade. So these five represent the five steps or the five paths to enlightenment. Path of accumulation, the first represented by the first Gade, path of preparation represented by the second Gade, path of seeing by the Paragate, and path of meditation by Parasangate, Bodhiswaha, path of normal learning. So the reflection on what each of these paths are, what are the demarcating lines of these paths, in what way the second path supersedes the first one, in what way the third one supersedes the second, and so forth. And then in a way, this is like, so how we traverse from one path to the second was all done with the wisdom of emptiness, which we are studying now. So meritorious. All of us, we are so fortunate, we are so meritorious. And honest, until we have some degree of merit, we don't feel inclined towards this. And the same, let alone your love, your passion to learn, to explore what emptiness is. Some people, they even don't feel connected. They don't even meet with this teaching. And this is what happens. So therefore, we should be feeling so fortunate that this is what we are doing now, which the Tibet House Institute organized. This is what will help us to follow through this Gade Gade Paragade Parasangade Bodhiswaha. Okay, this is one way of reciting it. And the second way of reciting this is, the second way meaning the second way of the reflection by which, when meditating on this, would be like, okay, I should keep improving myself. This point. Say you are, at the moment, you are in your 30s, or you are in your 20s, or you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and the time flies. We see time flies. Say, I remember, like when the COVID first exploded, it was like on the February, the 2020, and now already like the 8-9 months, when it simply the flu. We just have a feeling that all of us have a feeling that it just happened like 1 or 2 months ago. Already like 8 months gone, 9 months gone. This is how the time flies. So with this in mind, as the time flies, as the time passes by, I should make sure that I'm improving in the journey of discovering the purpose of my life. That is the infinite happiness and the state of fearlessness. I must disclose it. I must have it manifested, and more be vividly. So this is my path. And then as we recite this mantra every day, just see that if something of this kind is happening, if you are actually progressing along the path, I say, like whether you have been reflecting on the four seals, whether you have been meditating on the renunciation, whether you're meditating on bodhicitta, whether you're meditating emptiness, whether you're meditating on single point of meditation. If you're doing any of these things, and in the process, if you're doing it, if you're not doing it, this is a reminder that I should be doing these things. Without doing these things, how can I go through Gate to the first, second Gate to the Paragate, Parasamudhi Bodhiswaha? If you're doing it, then you will see how difficult it is. Say the renunciation, genuine moving feeling, it doesn't happen. Bodhicitta, a genuine moving feeling of love and affection towards other beings, doesn't happen. With emptiness, we say the discrepancy between appearance and reality, which will really bring about goosebumps on the body. It doesn't happen. So we see how difficult these practices are. And then this provided you are doing it. If you are not doing it, you will not have any clue about this. And those who are doing it, and then when they see somebody else having reached somewhere, and then you really start appreciating these, and you see them as your Sangha members. Okay, this is how we have to recite it. Should be recited in ways of the one as a reminder for us that I must keep improving myself so that I go from the state of darkness of miseries to the state of the light of freedom from miseries, from the darkness of from the darkness self-centered attitude to the light of the infinite happiness. Okay, this is what, and from the selfishness to the Acharya. This is what we should be reminded of. With this mind, let's say this 3 times together. Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisvatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisvatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisvaha. Okay. Okay. Getting to study emptiness and getting to study bodhicitta, and then reflecting and meditating, and the post meditation or the post studies, how we integrate what we study, reflect, and meditate on emptiness, on bodhicitta with the conventional life. How those people who do reflect on these points, they are very fortunate, extremely fortunate. And then when I speak about people who are meritorious, who are lucky ones, who are very fortunate ones, when I speak about such people, there are 2 ways of looking at it. Generally speaking, when somebody is, say, wealthy, when somebody is in a position, when somebody has youth, and that too, a very appealing youth, physically very appealing, and so forth. When these things happen, worldly people, ordinary people will consider these people as very fortunate, meritorious. Yes, that's true. That's true. At the same time, if you look in your own life, not just yourself, but with other people, there are always exceptions there. Somebody who can be extremely wealthy, extremely powerful, but a mind is deviated fully into dharma. Once in a while, we do find such people. Otherwise, the tendency is that somebody, say, who is very wealthy, ultra rich, versus the financially little complication, or the less fortunate. So if you compare between these two, the tendency for the person to go into dharma is the one who is less the wealthy. Wealthier, it will deviate you. And like the position, somebody with the position again will be turned away from dharma. And then with the youth, the beauty, celebrity, and so forth, again their mind will be deviated away from Dhamma. This is how it works. So that what is considered as or what is seen as fortunate, lucky, or meritorious from the point of view of the mundane world may not necessarily be in reality, in a deeper sense. And then I say, in a deeper sense, what really is meritorious? Meritorious is if I give you a choice that, okay, you as a young child, I will give you a very expensive toy, versus, okay, never mind, when you become older, I'll give you a very good house. Very good house. What do you prefer? For sure, you will prefer a very good house rather than a good a very expensive toy when you are a small child. But for a small child, that is more important. Small children, they see somebody getting a house and so on. What is this? But getting a toy, this is amazing. Or small children will really appreciate that person as meritorious. So the worldly people, they are like the small children. They see wealth, the power, and the physical health, and health is good. Health is good, but the what do you call this? Is the attractions, physical attractions. So these are what the small children consider as the indications of merit, of being meritorious. Whereas, say somebody like, okay, this toy for a small child versus a house, cars, or whatever, big things, good position, and so forth. As you grow up, that is much, much more meaningful for an adult. So likewise, somebody who can see this mundane, temporary happiness versus the ultimate happiness. When you compare the two, ultimate happiness, anybody who is heading towards the ultimate happiness, that's the real meaning of meritorious. Somebody who's really meritorious, as opposed to somebody who's just having mundane, the signs, indications of merit. So, who are these people who feel connected to really be turning towards the ultimate happiness or ultimate fearlessness? So that is how we can see that. Anybody who is interested in emptiness, this is the point. Anybody who is interested in bodhicitta, who is interested in emptiness, these are the people who are turning towards the ultimate goodness. So this is the real meaning of being meritorious. So from the point of view of the broader picture, anybody who has really, it doesn't matter whether you're wealthy or not, whether you have position or not position, it doesn't matter. As long as your mind is turning towards emptiness, turning towards bodhicitta, this is the real mark of your being meritorious. So let us not forget this. This is so important. Okay. Okay, with this in mind, I'd just like to share with you a short story of the Buddha. The Buddha said, when each one of us, when we remove the mental defilements, when the goals like Buddha nature within us become manifest, when the mental defilement, when the mud is gone, then the gold inside, the gold and the mud mixed. If there's a composition of the gold and the mud, as you remove the mud, with the mud, the gold doesn't glow, although the nature of the gold is to glow. As you remove the mud, then the gold starts to manifest its true nature, that is, to glow. It starts glowing. Likewise, as the metal defilements are removed, then the gold inside us, the Buddha nature, will start to glow. Then when it glows, in other words, when you become Buddha, when this purity becomes manifest, what are the qualities? There's innumerable qualities indicated, innumerable qualities, where if you really reflect on these qualities, you just feel, you will, no doubt, undoubtedly, you just feel like achieving Buddhahood as soon as possible. So one of the qualities that I want to share with you is that at one point, the Buddha Shakyamuni was giving teaching, and then one of his disciples, that is Mugliana, the one who is respected for being the one with the greatest mental power, what happened was that as the Buddha was giving teaching, he learned about the Buddha's qualities. Anybody who becomes Buddha, like Buddha Shakyamuni, one of the qualities is that your speech becomes extremely regulated and powerful, as symptom regulated, in a sense that that somebody with the merit, somebody with the say karmic connection with the Buddha, that person, wherever the person is, it doesn't matter, the distance doesn't matter. Wherever the person is, the person will hear the Buddha's teachings at the same volume of the voice. They do not really require the speaker, loudspeaker, and so forth. They don't require at all of these things. That wherever you are, separated by, say, the millions of the kilometers or miles, you can still hear the same teaching at the same volume. So, Moggallana, having heard this as one of the qualities of the Buddha's teachings, and now here in front of him, he would see the Buddha Shakyamuni was giving the teaching. So what he did was that he started to go away from, because he's very closely connected with the Buddha, karmically connected. So he started to go away from the Buddha's place, and to see the efficacy of this, the quality of the Buddha's speech. And he started to withdraw from the place where the Buddha was giving teaching. He started to go away from that. And at one point, they say he was too far away, still he could hear the Buddha's teachings. Then he started to go away from the planet Earth. Still he could hear that. And then is all through the miracle power. Through the miracle power. So I don't know where in the Milky Way galaxy, or must have been in some other places, the outside the Milky Way galaxy. I have no clue. But he ended up in a very strange world system. So let's say that if you, okay, Kim Louis, where are you? No, I know. In which country you are now? In America? Unmute yourself.
I'm in Melbourne.
Melbourne. Okay. Let's say that you and we are all in Melbourne. Say Kim Louis invited us all to Melbourne. And we have no clue. We have no clue of Melbourne, right? For the first time, we all dropped in Melbourne. And then let's say that we are all in Kim Louis' house. And then we started to explore. Explore means we go around, keep going around. And then we, say we go to such a distance, like 5 kilometers away from Kim Louis' place. And if you don't have the, what is that, GPS? GPS. If you don't have GPS and so forth, then for you to go away from Kim Louis' house is easy. But to come back to the same Kim Louis' house from where you went is very difficult. So the Moggallana, for him to leave the planet Earth, to some other place is very easy. From there, coming back to planet Earth is complicated. So what happened was that he ended up in a world system. He ended up in a world system, a very strange world system, where the size of the human beings there in the particular world system, the size of human beings is like 400 times the size of the human beings on the planet Earth. Just believe it or not. Then the size of Moggallana was just 1 divided by 400 times of the size of these people there. And there were also monks there. And the monks, they were so huge, and Moggallana was very tiny with respect to them, so tiny. And the monks, they were so fascinated to see that such a small human being, and they picked him up and placed him, Moggallana, on the palm, and they started to play with him. And then the Buddha there, in that world system, that Buddha, of course, in the same size as the others, and that Buddha told his monks, hey, don't play with this guy. This guy has a tremendous quality. This guy is one of the greatest disciples of the Buddha Shakyamuni in a world system known as planet Earth. So this was what this Buddha said. And then this Buddha indicated to Mugliana to display his miracle power. And then Mugliana, what he did was he manifested himself 400 times bigger than these monks, telling them that Buddha was telling telling those monks that don't just make fun of this guy. This guy has a tremendous miracle power. And then he demonstrated this miracle power, and all these monks, they were so fascinated. Okay, then this Buddha asked Mugliana, okay, what can I do for you now? You came all the way from planet Earth. What can I do for you now? So Mugliana, what he said was that, okay, I just came here for one purpose, just to check the efficacy of the Buddha's speech, the qualities of the Buddha's speech, Buddha Shakyamuni's speech. And then from there, from the planet Earth till here, trillions of, say, the miles, maybe like trillions of the light years, and I reached here. And now, because of this distance, my miracle power is not adequate. It's not adequate to take me back to the place, to my planet Earth. And then so my only request to you is, please take me back to the Buddha Shakyamuni's place, the planet Earth. So what he said, what this Buddha said was that I am the Buddha Shakyamuni myself. I am the Buddha Shakyamuni myself. Okay, so the Buddha, in fact, the same Buddha, when you become a Buddha, you can manifest yourself infinite number of times, depending on the needs and the karmic connections of the beings. So in the planet Earth, the Buddha just manifests like, it's said that like 1 foot taller than the majority of the people. So just like maybe 6'5", like this. Then in that world system, the Buddha manifests like, say the 400 into 6 feet. 6 4 24, 2,400 feet tall. So so the Buddha manifests. This is the power that we can get if we become a Buddha, to manifest all the beings. It's just one part of the qualities of the Buddhas. And then that Buddha, who is actually the Buddha Shakyamuni himself. So what he did was he just snapped. And Mugliana, he is an Arhat. Arhat meaning already attained the freedom from samsara, already attained nirvana. And not only that, he is actually known for his miracle power. But then look at the difference between the miracle power of the Buddha versus the miracle power of the Shravakas. Shravakas, even the one with the greatest miracle power, like Mugliana, his miracle power is not strong enough to take him back to the planet Earth. But with the Buddha's and the Buddha's miracle power, he just snaps and instantly he reached the planet Earth. Mugliana instantly reached the planet Earth. So these are the benefits. If each one of us, if we become Buddha, this is how we can benefit all the beings. You achieve the infinite power, the infinite skillfulness, infinite compassion, infinite wisdom. So this benefit, and how can we achieve that? Whether or not we have the potential to achieve that. Yes, every one of us has this. For example, we speak about when you are young, when you were teenage, when you're in school. Say there is a girl who is very topper in the school. There's a boy who's a topper in school. Some of us may be a little envious, or some of us may be greatly admire those. But then the same and more, the potential to achieve that skill and more greater skill than that is what you have, what each one of us we have. It doesn't matter whether you're Buddhist or not, whether you're a girl or boy, we all have this potential. The potential If the mental departments are gone, then this will manifest in the infinite forms, infinite power, infinite compassion, infinite wisdom. So this allows us to benefit all beings instantly. Where the karmic connections are there, you benefit the beings instantly. Another example given is the moon. The moon is there, the sky, and then the where there is the water body. Wherever there's a water body, there's a reflection formed. So reflection is like the manifestation of the Buddha, the moon representing the Buddha, and the manifestations, the moon reflections. There are, say, 1,000 lakes are there, 1,000 water bodies are there, 1,000 moon reflections will be created instantly. So it's not about, okay, the moon reflection, the moon says that I will have the reflection only in India, not elsewhere. No, wherever you are, not only for the boys, or only for the girls, or only for Buddhists. No, it's for everyone. Anybody who is able to create this water body, you will have the moon reflection in the air. Anybody who is able to create a karmic connection with the Buddha, the benefit is received. This is where, from the Buddha side, if you become Buddha, I say the point is to benefit the beings, we require two things. One is that you having the, beings having the karma to be with you, and you having the full potential. When the beings are ready, you are ready. Whereas oftentimes, say the children and the parents. Children are ready, but the parents are not ready. For example, the father who always failed in the science in school, and the child is so eager to learn physics from the father, and the father cannot do. The child is ready to learn, but the father is not ready, where the father is not equipped with that knowledge. So whereas when you become Buddha, from your side, you are ever ready. So from the children's side, from the sentient being's side, they should be ready with their karmic connections and the purity. Okay, when these two things come together, from your side, you are ever ready to benefit the beings. This is a benefit if you become Buddha. So how to become a Buddha? That potential is within each one of us. So this potential, so why it is not manifest? Because that is like the gold. That's like the gold within us, which is mixed with the soil, which is mixed with the dirt or the mud. Mud must be removed. You don't bring any, gold from outside. The gold is already within us. Just simply remove the mud and the gold will manifest. So you don't have to bring Buddhahood from elsewhere. Just remove the mud and the gold will manifest. The Buddhahood will manifest. How to remove the mud? This next question. So this mud, first, how to remove the mud? To know this, we have to first know what is this mud. This mud is nothing. This mud is the mental defilements in the form of afflictive obscurations and the cognitive obscurations. So the afflictive obscurations rooted to self-grasping ignorance, and the cognitive obscurations, the subtle stains of the self-grasping, attachment, anger, jealousy, and so forth, subtle stains, and imbued, wrapped in a self-centered attitude. So this is what it does. How to remove that is by resorting to a very powerful remedy. What is that remedy? The wisdom of emptiness. This is what we are studying here. Okay, with this in mind, let's go to let's go to stanza 13. We finished up to stanza 12 yesterday. Chapter 24, stanza 13. Okay. After studying emptiness, it is highly advisable for us to go through these chapters over and over again. And so, particularly chapter 24, this is like a dialogue, debate between the Arya Nagarjuna, the understanding of the emptiness of objectivity, or understanding of the dreamlike nature of all phenomena. It is on the one side, and on the other side is the opponents who reject this position, and who the one who espouses the belief that everything exists as so intrinsically, objectively real. They are not at all coming from our mind. So this dialogue is happening there. And then finally, we are not to see this as an external debate. Okay, the Nagarjuna had a debate with the opponents of his view. There was whatever happened there. It should not be seen like that. It should be seen like a debate within us, within us. So thus far, where we are not exposed to the concept of emptiness, that is like the opponents of Nagarjuna, believing things to be so objectively real. Now, on the other hand, we are newly learning. Now we are freshly learning, and we are beginning to learn how things don't really exist the way they appear to us. Things that are empty of intrinsicality. Things that are like dreams. So this is the new perspective that we're building up, and then the old perspective is already there within us. So with the introduction of new perspective, there's going to be like the clash happening between the old way of thinking and the new way of thinking. So this clash is happening. This clash is what we see as dialogue happening between Nagarjuna and the opponents. This is how we have to employ, how we have to utilize this chapter 24 for our own transformation. Okay, with this in mind, stanza 13. These refutations about that the Four Noble Truths, that you as the advocate of dreamlike nature, you as the advocate of emptiness of objective existence, you cannot account for the Four Noble Truths. You cannot account for the three jewels. You cannot account for the cause and effect. You cannot account for the ceasing, arising and ceasing. You cannot account for the functionality of the world, the conventional reality of the world. So all these refutations which you imposed on me, stanza 13, these refutations are not relevant to the advocates of emptiness. The refutations or the rejections that you impose on me, they are not actually relevant to the advocates of emptiness, like Nagarjuna. Your denigration of emptiness, instead, you are the one who denigrates emptiness, meaning that you are the one who rejects emptiness, or who deprecates or who denigrates or who disbelieves. You are the one who disbelieves in the concept of emptiness, while this is the reality. This is the reality. You denigrated, and your denigration of emptiness do not hold true for me. So you denigrated, you say that you try to reject emptiness, but it does not make any sense to me, because in a very rational, sensible discussion, you will come to realize that your position is wrong. 14. For one to whom emptiness is tenable, everything becomes tenable. So, okay, anybody from what we have learned earlier, gallery? Anybody? From what we learned the last 2 days. Anybody who can defend this stanza, stanza 14, which says, "For one to whom emptiness is tenable, everything becomes tenable," which means that where you are able to see emptiness as sensible, where you see emptiness as feasible, everything is feasible. Where you cannot account for emptiness, where you cannot understand emptiness, you cannot explain anything. You'll be end up in contradictions. Okay. From what we learned the last 2 days, there are clues we can take clues from what we learned the last 2 days. Is there anybody who likes to share with us as to what you can defend this stanza, verse number 14? Anybody? Anybody raise hands? Okay, the gorilla.
Shall I just speak quickly without reflecting? But I think through emptiness, we understand how the whole universe operates, which is through cause and effect. And in the last few days, we studied, the meaning of emptiness, which is dependent origination, and how everything, the two things, they are flip sides of the same the same coin. So emptiness also means that nothing is solid or objectively real or existent from its own side, but is constantly, arising this cycle of causes and effects, and the causes come, we create the causes, through our defilements, and through those defilements and those five, the stanza of ceasing of actions and afflictions, Acharya Nagarjuna's stanza, but the 5 points of how actually our miseries arise because of our actions, and those arise from afflictions, inappropriate attention, and self-grasping ignorance. So
Very good.
emptiness explains the whole universe, because things arise in this way of cause and effect, they are empty of objective existence. But on the other hand, that emptiness is not nihilistic, because the other side of that is cause and effect and functionality. So the two truths.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Gorilla. You explained it beautifully. Thank you. In fact, what you're saying is that emptiness connotes the dependent origination, the meaning of emptiness. What we learned of 3 points: what emptiness is, what the meaning of emptiness is, and the purpose of understanding emptiness. And the meaning of emptiness should not be understood as nothingness, but should be understood as dependent origination. And the whole universe is operating in the fabric of dependent origination. So the fabric of the whole universe is the dependent origination. So with the fabric of dependent origin, the whole universe is operating, all functionality is accountable on the basis of understanding the dependent origination. And dependent origination is the other side of the emptiness. Emptiness and dependent origination, these are the two sides of the same coin. Okay, wonderful. Dr. Sumashni, unmute yourself. Dr. Sumashni from Bangalore. Unmute yourself, unmute. Okay. Dr. Sumashni, you have to unmute yourself, otherwise we cannot hear you. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay. So in fact, I'm sure Dr. Sumashni will agree with Goriji that the emptiness doesn't mean nothingness, it means dependent origination. This is what we learned yesterday. So with this, stanza 14, for one to whom emptiness is tenable, where you can explain emptiness, everything becomes tenable. Everything can be explained well. Whereas for one to whom emptiness is not tenable, if you cannot explain what emptiness is in its true meaning, nothing becomes tenable. Okay, stanza 15 is an analogy. When you force upon us all of your errors, you are like a person who has mounted their horse and has forgotten that very horse. Okay, sometimes this is what we do, right? But the teachers will just tend to Oh yeah. Okay. Sometimes what you do is that you put in the glass, you put in your glasses, you are looking for your glasses. How many did it? Raise hands. Okay. Okay. Venerable Tirinkumpela, you did it? Huh? Never. No, unmute yourself. Unmute, yes.
I never lost it because I cannot see without my glasses.
Okay.
So I always realize it.
Okay, that's good. Okay, how many of you did it at least once in your life? Raise hands. Gorilla, Kurila, Lora, Frisla, Elena, Gelexambala, then the Sawanhamala, Shandila. Okay. Then Yimala. What about Carolyn May?
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said earlier, Gishila.
Okay, what I said is that how many of you put in your glasses, but you forgot and you are looking for your glasses? You did it?
Gishila, this happened to my air ticket when I was traveling. I was holding the air ticket, but I was telling all my friends, where's my ticket?
Okay. Okay, Carmen. This is what happens. And then to Carrie also. Carrie, David Locke, it happened to you also. Milinji? It happened to you? Milinji? Unmute, Milinji. Yes. It happened to you? Yes.
I missed that part.
Okay. Okay. So basically the point is that sometimes we put on the glasses and then we're looking for the glasses. Sometimes we hold like keys in a hand and we're looking for keys. Yeah, this happens. So this is exactly the analogy given by Nagarjuna to the opponents, saying that you are riding the horse and you are asking, you are saying that I have stolen your horse. You're getting it? So the analogy is that the opponents are riding the horse because the opponents are operating in this world of dependent origination. You're getting it? Opponents, they are part of the universe. They operate in the fabric of the dependent origination. And yet they forgot it. They forgot that, this is the fabric. This is the mechanism by which he's operating the universe. He forgot it. And then he was fighting with us that this world doesn't operate like this. Right? So it is like the stanza 15. When you forced upon us, or just blame us, all of your errors, you are like a person who has mounted a horse, the horse of dependent origination, and has forgotten that very horse. And then you fight with me, saying that dependent origination is not true, emptiness is not true, everything exists truly, and so forth. But in actuality, you are actually operating. How you are fighting with me is also in the process of dependent origination. 16. If you perceive the existence of all things in terms of the self-nature meaning the independent nature, not dependent, as independent nature, self-nature, this existence of things you will have to view as absent of causes and conditions. Okay, now, if you are present here, if you're present for this, the course on day one, when the opponents, where we studied the opponents, how they try to reject Nagarjuna, by saying that if you reject objective existence, then you are rejecting existence. If you reject existence, you are rejecting arising and ceasing. If you reject arising and ceasing, you are rejecting Four Noble Truths. If you reject Four Noble Truths, then you are rejecting the practices associated with the Four Noble Truths. If you reject the practices related to Four Noble Truths, you reject the Dharma, you reject the Four Fruits, you reject the 8 Sangha members, you reject the Buddha. This is what is happening. And then you reject the whole functionality of the world. This is how the opponents, the opponents, they debated, argued against on the Nagarjuna. Okay, now Nagarjuna is turning the table, saying that if things don't exist as empty nature, if things don't exist as empty nature, then things should not be empty. Things should not be dependent origination. If things are not dependent origination, things should be independent. If things are independent, all the allegations or all the rejections, refutations that you forced upon me will all fall on you. So now he is he's turning the table, and he is now one by one he's rejecting, or he's going to prove that all the arguments which the opponents forced upon him earlier actually fall on themselves. Now, stanza 16. If you perceive the existence of all things in terms of their self-nature, meaning as objective reality, not like a dream, self-nature, or independent, this existence of things you will have to view as absent of causes and conditions. Then you have to say that then the dependent origination is not operating. If you reject dependent origination, then dependence on causes and conditions, you are rejecting it. If things are not dependent on causes and conditions, then the causes, the results arising and by the power of the causes, as the causes cease and the results arising will not be possible. The condition and this existence of things you will have to view as absent of causes and conditions. Effects and causes. Okay, effects. Say where the causes and conditions are missing, then you cannot account for the effects. Then the causes here refers to, for example, let's say that I'm writing something. I'm writing my name. I'm writing my, okay, you are writing the notes. You're making notes on the notebook. So you are the person. You are the person as a cause. You are the person as a cause to make the writing happen, to make the notes happen. And then the agent here refers to the pen. So you are the person as the cause that I'm going to write it. And then you use this agent, the pen, as the agent, because pen is also the actor. You are also the actor. And you are the main actor, and the pen is the secondary actor, agent. So with these two things, then the action of writing happens. Agent and the action happens. Okay. So with these three things, the person, then the secondary actor, the pen, and the actor of the action, with these three things, then the note will come out as the result. So this is again through sheer dependent origination. By dependence on these three factors, that the node as the effect comes to origination, dependent origination. And conditions and arising and ceasing, and effects will be rendered impossible. Where there is no dependent origination, if you reject dependent origination by rejecting the emptiness of objective existence, then you are rejecting all these functionalities, like the conditions, arising and ceasing. Effects will all be rendered impossible. Stanza 18. Whatever is dependently arisen, that is explained to be emptiness. That being dependently designated or designation is itself the middle way. So stanza 18, 19 we did last time, particularly in the context of how the emptiness, the Nagarjuna said that emptiness, if you understand emptiness wrongly, all these rejections, the opponents, they throw against Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna said that it's all because of your failure to understand three things. Okay, anybody? What are the three things and the failure to understand which makes the person go through all these arguments against Nagarjuna? What are the three things? Anybody raise hands? Anybody? Okay, Shandila.
One is what exactly emptiness is. Second is the purpose of emptiness. And thirdly, it is what's the meaning of emptiness.
Very good. Okay, to be politically correct, let's say that instead of the purpose of emptiness, we say the purpose of understanding emptiness. Okay. Very good. So this is what we learned here. Stanza 18, which reads, whatever is dependently arisen, that is explained to be emptiness. So emptiness doesn't mean nothingness. Emptiness means dependent arisen, dependent arising, or dependent origination. Dependent arising and dependent origination is just a matter of English translation. It's a matter of the difference in English translation. They mean the same. So some people translate it as dependent origination. Some people translate it as dependent arising. In Sanskrit, it is pratit samutpad. Pratit samutpad. In Tibetan, it is tendel. In Tibetan, it is tendel. In Sanskrit, it is pratit samutpad. Okay. So whatever is dependently arisen, that is explained to be emptiness. Then what exactly the emptiness means? Dependent origination means something which is dependent on the destination. Destination meaning dependent on the mental designation, how the mind imputes, how the mind designates, how the mind it creates. That being dependently designated is itself the middle way, which means that it is empty from the object, which is indicated by the second line. It's explained to be emptiness. From the object is empty. From the subject, it exists as designation. That being a dependent designation. From the subject, it exists. From the object is empty. You're getting it? From the object is empty, meaning ultimately is empty. Ultimately is empty, or that the independently, from the object, independently, there's nothing there. It all exists by dependence. Dependence. From the object, there's nothing there means, well, independently, there's nothing there. By dependence, things come into being. This is what is being said. If that's the case, then this is the middle way. Why? Emptiness of independent existence means you are rejecting independence. You are rejecting the extreme of absolutism. So the extreme absolutism is rejected when you say it is empty of objective reality. But it exists subjectively, subjective designation, subjective imputation. It exists through dependence on, say, subjective imputation, which means that it is not nihilism. Something exists that rejects the extreme of nihilism. So I would say empty from the object rejects the extreme of absolutism, and the existing from the subjectivity, existing by the designation, mental designation, it rejects the extreme of nihilism. So rejecting these two extremes is following the middle way. That is meaning that being a dependent designation is itself the middle way. This is amazing stanza. So, and then the stanza 19, this is very important. Stanza 18, 19, both are extremely important for a meditation. Okay, raise hands. Those who do not want to have suffering in your life, raise hands. Those who say that suffering in my life is enough. Okay, enough is enough. I don't want to have it anymore now. Raise hands. Okay, boys to the girls. Boys to the girls? Both. Okay, I thought only the boys or only the girls. It's both. What about the monastics and non-monastics? Raise hands. Monastics, non-monastics. All of us, young and old, all of us. You're gonna get, okay, I say the religious people, non-religious people, all of us. Okay, everybody, nobody wants miseries. If you don't want miseries, then what should you do? Okay, which misery do you want? Don't you want? Which is more important for you? To get rid of the immediate misery or to get rid of the misery ultimately? To get rid of all the miseries, which you like? Raise hands. To get rid of all the miseries is what I prefer. Raise hands. Okay, if this is who you are, then there is no way other than to meditate on these two verses. You have to meditate on these two verses, right? It is like saying that all the medications are there on the table for the tuberculosis. You are suffering from tuberculosis, and you are, say, the coughing blood, and then you lose weight, you sweat, you have all the symptoms of tuberculosis, and the medicines are there on the table, and you do want to take the medicines, right? Wise person, knowing that I'm suffering from tuberculosis and I have the medicine on the table, I'm very lucky because, okay, I'll share one thing with you. There was a monk. There is a monk. There's a monk, and he is a brilliant meaning in terms of knowledge, very sharp, intelligent, and I would say the karmically very pure, extremely karmically connected with the Dharma practice. But because of some reasons, he was very sick at such a young age. In his the early 20s, he was terribly sick, and that was like 40 years ago. That was like 40 years ago, which means many of you are not born, right? 40 years ago, when many of you are not born. Okay, Thomas not born, Siddham Kumelo not born, Pallavi not born, Pooja not born, right? Okay, then who else? Okay, so let's see that there are some years not born. He was suffering from tuberculosis, and when I give this example, many of you will not understand. Many people don't understand it. Okay, I'm suffering from tuberculosis with extremely severe symptoms there, and the medicines are there in front of me, and I said I don't want to take. And some people they are like this. Okay, I don't know how many of you they know that. Some people they okay. Some of the hospitals there were rules. Institutions have rules that they if you are suffering from tuberculosis, you must report every day to the hospital. Why? To make sure that you take the medicines on time. Because if the medicines are sent to you, you may not take them. You're getting it? How do you know that? Raise hands. Okay, Shandila, Dorena Wong, Milinji, Prisla, you know that? Okay, so in the Frisla's country, people are very serious, very health conscious. Very good. Okay, but there are institutions, there are places where it is mandatory that if you are suffering from tuberculosis, you must report every day to the hospital to make sure that the nurses, the doctors, they see you taking the medicines by their own eyes. Because people, what they do is that they're forced to take the medicines in some institutions, good institutions. They will give you medicines for free. They take the medicines and then they don't take the medicines. They just dump them. Okay, so why I'm saying this is that they say some people, they don't get the medicines. For example, this monk who was at that point he was suffering from tuberculosis stage, I think stage 3. Stage 3 in those days, like 45 years ago, 40 years ago. 40 years ago, it was like if you suffer from tuberculosis, the stage 3, there's no medicine. So you have to wait for your the last breath. You have to wait. It's like you are waiting for your death. So the worry that he was mentally prepared that he was going to die. And in those days, this Google not there. There are all these facilities not at all there. So information you have to get from somebody, not from Google, from somebody. And that somebody must be very knowledgeable or should have some access to some newspapers and so forth. Even the television was not really available there in many places. So he was just a very simple monk, very poor monk. How can you expect to get medicines? In India, this medicine was not available. This was the situation. And then because his case was just one case in the whole town. So all the big people, they are concerned. And then, the Tibetans, they are compassionate by heart. So they showed compassion towards him. And they started to, this word spread like this. And then the big shots who have access to newspapers and so forth, they started to know about the situation. And then they started to explore. And they come to realize that in India, this medicine is not available. Medicine for the 3rd stage tuberculosis was not available. Then what happened was that his roommate, it so happened that his roommate was eventually sent to Japan to run a center or to study there and eventually run a center there in Japan. And because the two of them were roommates for very briefly for about like 1 or 2 months. And because of this connection, this monk who was sent to Japan, he came to learn that the medicine for his ailment used to be produced in Japan. But they stopped it now. And if you want to buy this, if you want to make them produce it, in other words, if you want to buy the medicine from this company, then this company has to reproduce, has to start producing it again. To produce just for one person is very expensive. So said that medicine somehow, if you want to request the company to produce it, then you have to, it must be produced minimum for like 500 people. And who will pay this? It's so expensive, so expensive. So somehow, people, all the big shots, they become so sympathetic with him, and he himself is a brilliant, he's an amazing monk. So all these people, somehow they managed. Eventually they found medicine. Otherwise, he himself was mentally prepared to die, because through all the sources he came to learn that in India, medicine is not available. And in Japan, if you request, you have to buy the medicine for like 500 people, which is not possible at all. So this is what I'm saying. So now the point is, why I'm sharing this is that, say, we are all like suffering from tuberculosis, severe tuberculosis in samsara, right? We have all these dire, the excruciating pains, samsaric pains, sickness, aging, death, tension, depression, and so forth. And the medicine is there, like these two stanzas. Whatever is dependently arisen, that is explained as to be emptiness. That being dependently designated, this is the middle way. Since there is no phenomenon which is not dependently originated, therefore there is no phenomenon that is not empty. So these verses are there, these teachings are there on emptiness. These are the medicines. And if you don't practice, if you don't take these medicines on a daily basis, your illness, we can't expect to remove this, get rid of this illness of this samsaric existence. Okay, this is what we need to keep in mind. These two stanzas are so precious. So the stanza 19, and within this, we have another 2 more sessions. We'll try to include a meditation, a very short meditation on emptiness, how to meditate on emptiness, for like a few minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, so forth, on a daily basis. And whether you want to do it on a daily basis, that's up to you, right? That's up to you. But I'll share with you. So what could be that like? How to meditate on emptiness? Be it like 2 minutes or 3 minutes. If you can do it on a daily basis, this would be like taking a dose of medicines to remove your tuberculosis. Okay. Since there is no phenomenon, that is not dependent originated. So everything comes into being by dependent origination, by dependence on other factors. Independently, there's nothing there as anything. So since there's no phenomenon, and that is not dependently originated, everything is dependently originated. Therefore, dependently originated means independently, there's nothing there. Therefore, there is no phenomenon that is not empty of independence, empty of independent existence. Okay, so we have to learn how to meditate on this. Okay, who's going to remind me day after tomorrow? Who's going to remind me? Okay, Gorilla, Kim Lui 2, and then the Plavi 3. Okay, 3 people will remind me day after tomorrow on if I don't touch this area, how to meditate on emptiness, then 2 of them will remind me to do this, take a short session on this. Okay, some of you already know because you have been attending other classes from NMC, Naval Master's course, and the diploma course from Tibet House. You have been attending these courses, so you know how to do this meditation. But those who are not in courses, we learn this after tomorrow. And for a little digression, for information, those who are not taking these 2 courses, now next year most likely, the Narendra Master's course, which is for 4 years. So far we have been doing only the first batch. So we can't start the second batch till the first batch finishes. So next year we're expecting the first batch to complete the course, and now it's almost like hitting 5 years. And then the Nalanda diploma course, which is for 1.5 years or 1 year and 3 months. So this week already the second batch is happening. Next year we'll have the third batch. So those, but for those to do the Nalanda Master's course, 4 years course, the prerequisite is that you should have done the Nalanda diploma course. And the Nalanda diploma course, luckily next year, we are again launching the third batch. So anybody who's interested, you can be a part of it. so that you'll be entitled to join the Nalanda Master's course next batch. Okay. Stanza 20. If all these were non-empty meaning non-empty of objective existence. So non is negative, empty is negative, double negation is positive. If all of these were non-empty of objective existence, means if all of these exist objectively, or if all of these exist independently, if all these were non-empty of independent existence, non-empty of objective existence, non-empty, non-negative, empty negative, double negation is positive. So the other way of reading this is, if all of this is independently existent, neither would arising nor ceasing exists. Because if things exist independently, then let me say that the Deer Park Institute organizing this first online course, so Deer Park Institute likes to commemorate this by planting a seed, planting up on the Bodhi tree by planting the seed of the Bodhi tree first. So this, you plant the Bodhi seed and you're expecting the Bodhi tree to arise, right? So this Bodhi tree, if it arises, it should arise from the Bodhi seed. And this Bodhi seed is not the tree, but dependence on the Bodhi seed, put in the dependence on the soil, dependence on the water, dependence on the air, sunlight, and so forth. But depends on these factors, then the Bodhi tree should arise, should grow. How many agree with me? Very good. Now, if things are independently real, if this seed is independent real, it should not depend on other factors. Dependence is not positive. It will not hold true. If the dependence is not there, that dependence on water, dependence on soil, dependence on sunlight, dependence on air, all these will become nonsensical. If the dependence on these factors, if it doesn't depend on these factors, if these factors are missing, the seed will always remain as a seed. The seed will never germinate into a people tree. So it says that if all these were non-empty, neither would arising. Arising will not happen. If the arising doesn't happen, the seeds will never stop. The seed will never cease. Because in order for the tree to arise, the seed must disintegrate. Seed must cease. For arising of the shoot to happen, the ceasing of the seed must happen. So ceasing of the seed and the arising of the shoot will not happen if things are not dependent on the water, soil, air, and so forth. Then for you, it follows that the Four Noble Truths would not exist. If the arising and ceasing is not there, then the Four Noble Truths is not possible. Because Four Noble Truths is on the basis of the arising and ceasing. Arising of the fruit, arising of the effect, with the ceasing of the cause. Right? Ceasing of the cause and the arising of the effect. So Four Noble Truths, you see that the first two Noble Truths, they form the cause and effect. Truth number one, noble truth, the truth of suffering is the effect. Truth of cause of suffering is the cause. So effect should arise, the cause should disintegrate. So arising and ceasing should happen with the noble truth number 1 and 2. Likewise, number 3 and number 4. Number 3 is the truth of the cessation of suffering, where you are freed from suffering. And what makes you free from suffering is by the path, the practice of the path. So practice of the path is your cause in order to have the result of the freedom from suffering. Again, these are the cause and effect. So if the cause and effect doesn't happen, arising and ceasing doesn't happen, cause and effect is not possible. If the cause and effect is not possible, then the Four Noble Truths is not possible. 21. If it is not dependently reason, how could suffering come to be? Now, say this suffering comes to being by dependence on the causes. We said the mantra, Ye Dharma mantra, Ye dharma hetu prabhava. All these phenomena arise from the causes. All these miseries, suffering arise from the causes. So it says that by dependence on the causes, the suffering arise. So if a dependency is not there, then the suffering will not arise. The cause of the suffering will always remain as a cause, will never give rise to the effect, the suffering. 21. If it is not dependently arisen, how could suffering come to be? Suffering arising from the cause, how can that be possible? And also that impermanent, which suffering is thought to be, does not exist in its self-nature. Impermanent meaning that when the Buddha taught the suffering, the truth of suffering, the Buddha taught the four aspects, the four attributes of truth of suffering. What we read earlier as the four seals, all composite things impermanent. All contaminated things are suffering nature. Everything is the nature of emptiness, selflessness. Emptiness and selflessness. Two, then suffering nature and impermanence. These are the four attributes of the truth of suffering, which the Buddha taught as the four attributes of the truth of suffering. So the first attribute is impermanence. So it says that on the 21, if it is not dependently arisen, how could suffering come to be? Impermanent, the first of the four attributes of the Four Noble Truths, impermanent, which suffering is thought to be. Suffering is of the nature of impermanence and does not exist in its self-nature. So the impermanence should not exist as truly or exist as objectively, independently, as a part of the suffering. So it is also, even the impermanence also comes into being by dependence. 22. When something does exist from its own nature meaning independently from the object, if something does exist from its own nature, how could it ever arise? Okay, let's say that arise meaning that first it is not there. For example, now, in America, now the president-elect, Joe Biden, is going to arise as the president, right? If he's already the president, then arising will make no sense. Arise means at one point he was not the president. Now he's becoming president. That is the meaning of arising. At one point, there's no shoot. At one point, it was just a seed. Then from there, the shoot is arising. Arising means that arising involves the two segments. The first segment, where the object is non-existent, and the second segment, the object comes into existence. So the totality of the two gives you the concept of the arising. You getting it? So for that something from non-existent, it should come into existence. That is the meaning of arising. For the arising to happen, from non-existence to existence, there must be dependency there. For example, the seed, when the shoot is not existent, then next time the shoot arises. So for that to happen, the seed must come in dependency, must come in contact, or be dependent on the many factors: water, manure, sunflower, the sun rays, air, and so forth. But depends on these factors, then the shoot arises. So the arising makes sense only with dependent origination. In the absence of dependent origination, arising makes no sense. 22. When something does not exist from its own nature, something does exist from its own nature or independently, how could it ever arise? It follows that if one denies emptiness, there can be no origin of suffering. So with the independent existence, suffering is not possible, number one. With the independent entity, if something exists independently, arising is not possible. If the arising is not possible, then the cause, origin doesn't make sense. Origin of the suffering. That suffering arises from the origin. Arising is not there. So the cause is not acceptable. So which means the truth of suffering is not possible. Number 22. When something does exist from its own nature, how could it ever arise? It follows that if one denies emptiness, there can be no original suffering. That is the second truth. to the cause of suffering, to the original suffering, is not possible. Number 2. 23. If suffering exists as self-nature, if cessation could not exist. Now, the third truth to the cessation suffering. If the suffering, okay, this is very important. And these reasonings that we are learning here, these are so important. In fact, there are two things happening here. One is that we are learning new information. Number 2 is that we are sharpening our intelligence. You're getting it? We are sharpening intelligence. There are two things happening. One is we are gathering new information. Number 2 is we are sharpening the intelligence. For example, like, say, you are sharpening a sickle before you have they cut the crops. You sharpen the sickle. When you sharpen the sickle, you are not gathering any crops. Sharpen the sickle, and then meanwhile, after this, then you cut the crops. You cut the crops very effectively. So sharpening sickle is like sharpening your mind. So to understand emptiness, you must have a very sharp mind. So what we are learning here, so this will help us to cut the crops as well as to sharpen the sickle. The two things are happening together. This is so precious for us. Otherwise, if you don't learn these skills, if you don't sharpen our intelligence, and we say that, okay, I remember when I was in school, I have this classmate, he's extremely bright, she's extremely bright, and you feel little, sorry to yourself that I'm not so bright. Okay, this is not the point. Even the brightness is also dependent originated. Even the brightness is also dependent originated. So that if you expose yourself to the factors dependent upon which your intelligence gets sharpened, you'll become bright. So most likely in your past life, we are not exposed to the factors dependent upon which your intelligence sharpened, right? So for example, that if I carry a let's say, a knife. Say, for example, if I from Delhi, I come to New York, let's say to Mark. Mark, you're in New York, in New Jersey. Mark? New York.
New York, yes.
Okay, let's say that we all go from your respective place to Mark's place in New York, and we all carry our small the Swiss pen knife, right? And my Swiss pen knife is the one which I've been using for the last, let's say, the 40 years, and now it's not at all sharp; it's very blunt. And some people think that if I go, okay, is there anybody from Switzerland? Raise your hands. Anybody from Switzerland? No. Let's say Mark is in Switzerland, and we go to Mark's place in Switzerland, and then expecting that, okay, if this knife that I carry from Delhi to Switzerland automatically becomes sharp, don't expect that, right? Don't expect that. If I carry a blunt knife to Switzerland, even though it's a Swiss knife, and you are in Switzerland, still blunt, it's not going to be sharp, right? So what do you do? For the sharpness of this knife, it's not necessary you have to take it to Switzerland. You can sharpen it in Delhi also. How? You buy the sharpener, or you buy the stone. Or if you are skilled, even on an ordinary stone, you can sharpen it. And wherever you take it, it's very sharp. You're getting it? So in this life, you make your mind sharp by learning these the texts. You make your mind sharp. By making the mind sharp, next life, wherever you take birth as a boy, girl, or believer and non-believer, or whatever, you become a very bright boy or very bright girl, right? And everybody will be envious of you. So this is what we have to do. We have to sharpen our intelligence. So even the sharpening of intelligence is a dependent originated, dependence on the various factors. And what are the various factors? The best factor is study. Study the powerful reasonings. And another factor is, don't be jealous of others' good intelligence. Don't be jealous of others' learnings. Rejoice in others' learnings, and try to create conducive factors for others' learning. Try to encourage others in learning. Try to encourage others in sharpening the intelligence. And you also to expose yourself to the learning and so forth. So these are the factors dependent upon which your intelligence will be sharpened. And the next life, guaranteed that you will be born as an extremely sharp genius girl or a genius boy. So this says what can be done. So what we are doing here is really sharpening our intelligence, plus getting information about emptiness. Okay, 23. 23 is, so now we have already rejected independent existent suffering, independent existent cause of suffering. Now the rejected independent existent, the cessation of suffering, right? So if you don't accept emptiness, if you accept objective existence or independent existence, then the contradiction is that you cannot posit the cessation of suffering. The Four Noble Truths, we have already done the first two, now the third, stanza 23. If suffering exists as self-nature, if the suffering exists as self-nature or independently, then the suffering, we cannot change the suffering. If the suffering cannot be changed, then whatever effort that you put, you cannot bring the cessation of suffering. You cannot stop the suffering because the suffering exists independently. No factor can change it because it doesn't depend on any other factors. If it doesn't depend on any other factors, then the other factors cannot change it. If you cannot change it, you cannot stop this suffering. If you cannot stop this suffering, the cessation of suffering will never cease. If the suffering doesn't cease, the state of cessation will never happen. So a state of cessation cannot be posited if the suffering exists as truly or self-nature. So self-nature here refers to independent existence. 23. If suffering exists as self-nature, if cessation could not exist. If self-nature is posited, one denies cessation. If you posit that things exist as self-nature, as independently, then you are denying the existence of the cessation, the third truth, the cessation of suffering. 24. Okay, what is the fourth truth now? What is the fourth noble truth? Anybody? Okay, raise your hands. Okay, Pallavi.
It's the path to the cessation, Geshe.
Very good. The truth of the path leading to cessation. Now, rejecting if somebody denies emptiness, you are in a way denying the truth of the path. How? 24. If the path has the truth of the path, or path to cessation of suffering, had self-nature, meditation would not be possible. If you say that the path, okay, I have the path. If you have the path independently, then it doesn't depend on other factors. It doesn't depend on meditation. You don't meditate, right? So the meditation on the path becomes meaningless. If the path had self-nature, meditation would not be tenable. If this path is indeed meditated upon, if you insist that no, path must be meditated, then you have to, there are two choices. Either you reject meditation of the path, or you reject the position that the path exists truly. You reject one of these two. If you say that the path, I cannot reject the path to be meditated, path has to be meditated, then you reject the position that the path exists truly or the path exists as objectively. If the path is indeed meditated upon, the position of self-nature would not hold true. 25. If suffering, origin, and the cessation are non-existent. Okay, now suffering, origin, or the cause of suffering, and the cessation, number 3. If these are non-existent, by meditating upon which path could one seek to obtain the cessation of suffering? If the suffering is there, if you cannot posit the suffering, if you cannot posit suffering, then the cessation of suffering makes no sense, because you don't have the suffering in the first place. By meditation upon which path could one seek to obtain the cessation of suffering? If the cessation is not there, no matter what path you practice, cessation will not achieve. If the cessation is not achieved, nothing is the path to the cessation, because the path to cessation makes no sense if the cessation is not there. 26. Now, if the Four Noble Truths are not there, what practices are you going to do related to the Four Noble Truths? Suffering to be identified, identification of suffering will make no sense. The cause of suffering is to be abandoned. Abandonment of the cause of suffering makes no sense. If the cessation is not there, actualization of cessation will not make no sense. if the path is not there, the meditation on the path will make no sense. 26. If non-identification comes to be, okay, this one thing. Now, identification pertaining to the practice. Truth of suffering is to be identified. Now, so that's why let's say that I'm not meditating on the Four Noble Truths, which means that I'm not meditating on the truth of suffering. Truth of suffering is to be, what practice should you do related to truth of suffering? That I should identify the truth of suffering. So I say that up till yesterday, I was not interested in the meditation on the suffering. Now suddenly I met with my teacher, and my teacher encourages me to meditate on the truth of suffering, that is to be identified. So till yesterday, I did not identify the suffering, and now today I'm putting effort. So till here, this is very important. This is the reasoning. This is the reasoning to help us sharpen our intelligence. You're getting it? So till yesterday, okay, till today, this morning, I have the non-identification of suffering, which means I could not identify the suffering, which is the non-identification of suffering is there with me. So if the non-identification of suffering is with me, independently, nothing can change this. Nothing can change this non-identification of suffering. So no matter what I do, non-identification within me will forever remain, right? So the practice of my practice associated with the suffering is to identify the suffering. The Buddha said that the first set of the teachings on the Four Noble Truths is, this is the truth of suffering, this is the truth of cause of suffering, cessation, and path. Then second set of the Four Noble Truths teaching is, truth of suffering is to be identified. Truth of the origin of suffering is to be, anybody? Okay, Carolyn May.
To be abandoned, Geshe-la.
Truth of the cause of suffering is to be abandoned.
No. Truth of the origin.
And what is number 3? Anybody? Number 3, anybody? Okay, Korila.
Geshe-la, the truth of cessation is to be actualized.
Very good. Okay, number 4, anybody? Okay, Nimala.
Geshe-la, path of cessation of suffering is to be practiced.
Is to practice or is to be meditated upon? Very good. And so, Dr. Subhashini ji, what is the practice associated with the truth of cessation of suffering? Unmute yourself. Unmute. You know how to unmute?
Yes, now
Okay,
I have.
good.
I was muted.
Yes.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
My question is, what is the practice? Okay, the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths in 3 sets. The first set is identifying the Four Noble Truths. The second set is the practices related to the Four Noble Truths. So I'm asking, what is the practice related to the third Noble Truth, which the Buddha taught? Number 3 and number 4.
The third one is the cessation. To work toward the cessation.
What did the Buddha say? The truth of cessation is to be, what the Buddha said is, truth of suffering is to be identified. Truth of the cause of suffering is to be abandoned. Then the truth of the cessation of suffering is to be actualized. And then truth of the path leading to cessation should be meditated upon. Okay, these are the 4 practices. Now, the first practice that I should be adopting is that we should be adopting, not only me, all of us, right? Okay, all of us should be adopting these practices. The first practice to be adopted is we should identify the suffering. So, if you started it today, if you begin it today, which means till this morning, we could not identify the truth of suffering. How many agree? Raise hands. Very good. If we have not identified the truth of suffering till this morning, so till this morning, what we have is, we have the non-identification of the truth of suffering. You agree with me? Raise hands. Very good. If you have the non-identification of the truth of suffering independently, then nothing can change it. Nothing can change the non-identification. That your inability to identify the suffering, if it exists intrinsically or objectively, independently, then nothing can change it. So your inability to identify the truth of suffering will remain forever. Today, tomorrow, till endlessly, eternally, it will remain forever. If that happens, if it remains forever, then the problem is that you will never be able to practice the truth of suffering, truth of the practice related to the truth of suffering, that is to identify the truth of suffering. So identification of truth of suffering will never happen to us if the non-identification of truth of suffering exists truly. Okay, 26. If non-identification comes to be through self-nature meaning independently, how will identification arise in the future? Doesn't it non-identification exist by virtue of self-nature? Meaning that identification will never come to exist within you, because you accept that the non-identification exists by virtue of independent existence, by virtue of self-nature. Don't you do that? You say yes. If that is the case, it will never change. You will forever have the non-identification of suffering. Identification will never happen. 27. Just as identification of suffering is said to be unfeasible, abandoning of what? Anybody? Abandoning of what? The identification is done. Abandoning of anybody?
Second truth.
Okay, who is that? Sangamitra. Sangamitra, you said it? Okay. Abandoning truth. What is the second truth? Abandoning of the second truth. What's second truth?
Cause of sufferings.
Very good. Abandoning the cause of suffering. Then actualizing what? Anybody else? Actualizing?
Cessation of suffering.
The cessation of suffering. Yes. Actualizing the cessation of suffering. And meditating of
Path.
Puja, tell me. Meditating what?
On the path.
Meditating of the path, leading to cessation. Very good. And the Four Noble Truths also would not be possible for you. 28. For a propounder of self-nature, for a propounder of independent nature, since the fruits that through their self-nature are not attained. How many of you attained the four fruits? Raise your hands. How many of you attained the four fruits? Okay, how many of you have not attained the four fruits? Raise your hands. Okay, how many of you have attained the four fruits? Raise your hands. Any of the four fruits? Raise your hands. Okay, Pilavi, you attained? Which fruit? The first one. Unmute.
The idea that there is suffering, the identification of suffering.
No. What are the four fruits? Anybody? So Pilavi, they say, to say that I attain the fruits, you have to identify the fruits. You're getting it?
Yeah. Just one second. That is sorry. That three mentorer, once returner, never returner, and arhatship. Yeah.
So the Pilavi's four fruits are in the books, not with her, right? So it's not in the book. It's not with her. If it is not with her, she has not attained it. It's still in the book. Okay. So the four fruits.
Geshe, I have a question here.
Yes.
Geshe, I have a question here, please.
Yes, Dr. Subhashniji, tell me.
Shouldn't actualizing come before abandoning and meditating? Because unless you actualize it, how are you going to abandon it and meditate on it? You have to first actualize it, know what it is.
Okay. So basically, Dr. Subhashniji, keep in mind that what is to be actualized and what is to abandon, what is to practice, they have different references. You're getting it? Actualize the cessation. We don't say actualize the path. Actualize the cessation. And the path to be meditated upon. And abandonment is not the cessation. Abandonment of the cause of the suffering. You're getting it? So these four activities, the references of these four activities, they are different. They are not one. Okay, good, Subhashniji, thank you. Okay, So now the point is that we are reading 28. For a propounder of self-nature, since the fruits, the four fruits, which Pallavi said, the fruit of stream enterer, fruit of once returner, fruit of no more returner, fruit of the arhatship, the four fruits. So these four fruits are the fruits of somebody practicing the Four Noble Truths. If you don't practice the Four Noble Truths, these four fruits you will not attain the four fruits. Okay. Since for a propounder of self-nature, since the fruits that through their self-nature are not attained, if you have not attained the Four Noble Truths, if you have not attained four fruits by self-nature, independently, our failure to achieve the Four Noble Truths, if that exists independently, then it will forever remain like this. We will forever remain as somebody who has not attained the four fruits. If that happens, we will never attain the four fruits. Okay. If that happens, then the four abiders and the four enterers of the four fruits will be non-existent. And these eight, they form the eight Sangha members. So eight Sangha members will become meaningless. 28. For a propounder of self-nature, since the four fruits, that through their self-nature are not attained, in what way could one attain them? How can we attain the four fruits? There is no way by which we can attain them, because they should exist independently. They should not depend on any other factors if they exist independently. 29. Without the fruits, if the fruits are not there, if the four fruits are not there, then there are no abiders. How many abiders are there? There should be four abiders. And the four abiders should be non-existent. The abiders of the fruits, know the enterers. How many enterers? Four enterers. Very good. If there are four enterers and four abiders, total 8. If the 8 kinds of persons did not exist, there would be no Sangha. There would be no Sangha. So Sangha is, say, we speak about, say, the Sangha. Sangha, let's say the boys and the girls, male Sangha members, female Sangha members. Let's talk about it. So like that, there are 8 categories. Like we can categorize in different ways. One way of categorizing the Sangha is in these 8 categories: the 4 abiders and the 4 enterers. There will be no Sangha. 30. From the non-existence of the noble truths would follow the non-existence of the true dharma. If the 4 noble truths are not there, then of the 4 noble truths, when you say Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, when we say Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, dharma, what is that dharma? The real dharma. Let's say that we talk about these scriptures as dharma. These are symbolic dharma. Real dharma is of the 4 noble truths, truth number 3 and truth number 4. Okay, anybody? Give me some examples of the real dharma. Very quick. Give me some examples of real dharma. When you say dharmam sharanam gacchami. Anybody? Very quick. Okay, Carolyn Ming.
One who has actualized the path.
Someone who sees directly with the emptiness.
Okay, let's say. Okay. The Sirin Kumpela, you want to say something? Okay. The Carolyn Ming, you say someone. Someone means you are referring to a person. Instead, let's say that Carolyn Ming, you like to say something? Yes.
Sorry, Geshe-la, I mistaken with Sangam. Sangha. I thought you were saying Sangha. Sangha is someone.
So my question is, okay, Dr. Subhashini ji, okay, yes. Can you give me anybody who can give an example of a real dharma? When you say dharmam sharanam gacchami,
it's the Buddha.
Okay, just raise your hands. I have Gorilla there, Dr. Subhashini there, Nimala there. More hands coming up, more hands. I'll be very happy, more hands are coming up. Okay, Pujala there, Chandila there. Pallavi, Thomas, Mark. Okay, Mark, tell me. What example do you have for dharma? When you say dharmam sharanam gacchami?
Practice of renunciation.
Huh?
The practice of renunciation.
Okay, the practice of renunciation is dharma. Very good. Anybody else? Okay, Laura.
I would say the Dharma of scripture and the Dharma of realization. So
Okay, Dharma scripture
and the Dharma of
scripture and Dharma real. Very good. Anybody else?
Pratitta samutpat.
The three aspects of the path: renunciation, bodhicitta, and the realization of emptiness.
Very good. Okay, the Korila.
Geshe, the 5 paths as embodied in the Har Sutra.
Okay, 5 paths embodied in the Har Sutra. Very good. Anybody else? Anybody else? Pooja?
Cessation of mental defilements, all kind of.
Okay, cessation from mental defilements. Very good. Anybody else? Shandila?
Direct realization of emptiness.
That realize emptiness. Very good. Sangamitra?
Emptiness or pratitta samutpat, that is the real dharma.
Okay, emptiness, pratisamutpas, real dharma. Okay, there are the Kim Lui.
I have the path.
The truth of the path.
The practice of 6 perfections.
A practice of 6 perfections. Very good. Okay. Anybody else now? Anybody else who likes to add to this? Okay.
Geshe, the realization of emptiness without bodhicitta is incomplete. Bodhicitta has to go hand in hand with the realization of emptiness.
Very good. Now, okay, okay. Okay, so now let us listen. This is extremely important. Usually what we do is that they say with the teachings. For example, say, I just already indicated to you dharmam sharanam gacchami. What is dharma? I already told you before. You're getting it? If you paid attention to this, if you can replicate what is being said earlier, that is the exact understanding. Number 1. Number 2 is that and you might have heard something different from some of the teachers, from some of the books. You're getting it? And then it's a great opportunity for you to bring this up here. For example, what Laura Gibson, what she brought, the dharma of the scripture and dharma of realization. This is a very standard position which differs from what I said. You're getting it? So how would you reconcile this? Because what she said is a very standard one. Standard one coming from, say the source would be the Abhidhamma-kosh by Acharya, the Vasubandhu. It's coming from the Abhidhamma-kosh, the dharma of the realization. Dharma can be summarized in the dharma realization and the dharma of the scripture. This is what Acharya Vasubandhu said. And I did not say this, right? So how would you reconcile these two? These are the things that we have to bring up. You're getting it? Okay. And so, in other words, what we say is that the dharmam sharanam gacchami. So what Nagarjuna is saying here, you're getting it? What Nagarjuna is saying here says that, which stanza is that? 30, which reads, from the non-existence of the noble truths would follow the non-existence of the true dharma. You're getting it? True dharma. So Nagarjuna is referring to dharma in the context of 4 noble truths. From there we have to extract, we have to see the dharma there. Suffering is not the dharma. You're getting it? We are already rich in suffering, but we don't have dharma. You're getting it? For example, say the more sinful person who hates to be kind towards other people, that person does not have dharma, but person is so rich with suffering, causes suffering also. So these two are for sure not the dharma. Now, if there's a dharma to be extracted from the Four Noble Truths, it should be number 3 and number 4. You're getting it? Number 3 and number 4. So when you say Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, there are two things. The dharma in that technical sense, right? And the dharma, technical sense plus the symbolics combined together. So when we say Sangha, the meaning is very different. But if you incorporate in a loose sense, if you include the technical version of the Sangha plus the loose sense of the Sangha, then the monastics, they resemble the Sangha. But the real meaning of a Sangha is, it's not necessarily a monastic. Anybody, monastic, non-monastic, anybody who realizes emptiness directly, that becomes the Sangha in technical sense. Then in the loose sense, say anybody who realizes emptiness directly plus the monastics, to make the meaning of the Sangha a little broader. Okay, now what is Dharma? Dharma, technically, the way presented by Nagarjuna here, it is the truth of the cessation of suffering and the truth of the path leading to the cessation. Okay, Shandila indicated the path leading to the cessation, is what she said. And then the Puja said the cessation of the suffering and its causes. Truth of the cessation number 3 and truth of the path leading to cessation number 4. So these two form the real dharma. Then how do you reconcile this? What about the scriptures? Scriptures, these are not the truth of the cessation. These are not the truth of the path leading to cessation. What are the scriptures? The scriptures, Acharya Vasubandhu, an extremely great Indian knowledge master, he indicated the dharma of the scripture, where Laura cited. This is very true. So that is the dharma in a little broader sense. Technical plus the broader version. Technical part is the truth of the cessation and the truth of the path of the cessation. These two are the technical version of the dharma. Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami. And then for us to take refuge in the dharma, we should make sure that as a part of taking refuge in dharma, the scriptures are respected so much. So we are not to, for example, let's say that I'm drinking the juice here, and then I put this glass disrespectfully on the scriptures. We are not to do this. We have to respect the scriptures. For example, let's say that this book, I need let's say this book. So this scripture, let's say that I want a particular page, and then it doesn't sit properly. So I can use something else, not out of disrespect, but to make sure that the page remains opened where I want, is out of respect. You're getting it? But not because that the juice, or I'm eating apple and then the remaining part of apple I put in the scripture. This is a total disrespect. So we must respect the scriptures as a dharma. You're getting it? So Acharya Vasubandhu said the dharma of scripture and the realizations. Okay, Mark, you have a question?
Geshe-la, wouldn't the indication of the fact of the first and second truths be dharma too?
Okay, identification. So the thing is that, so these two things, identification and the process of abandoning. Identification of suffering and identification of the cause of suffering. These two are the ones which will take you towards dharma, take you towards the real dharma. And of course, in a loose sense, of course, identification, learning about truth of suffering is also dharma. The books teaching, the scriptures teaching on the truth of suffering is also dharma, in a broad sense. in a broad sense. In a technical sense, even if you have the scripture, I can still suffer, right? Dharma is to protect me. Dharma means Dharma is the real protector. Even if I have the scripture, still I can suffer. You're getting it? But if I have the third truth, the truth of the cessation of suffering, then I'm free from suffering. You're getting, I'm protected from suffering. So that is the meaning of the Dharma. The real Dharma, the truth number 3 and truth number 4. Okay, good. 30. From the non-existence of, if the Four Noble Truths cannot be posited, and you posit that with non-existent, would follow the non-existence of the true Dharma. Because if the Four Noble Truths are missing, then truth number 3 and truth number 4, these are also missing. So these two form the Dharma, so Dharma is missing. If there's no Dharma and no Sangha, how could a Buddha exist? Buddha exists, Buddha should come out of by dependence of Sangha and by dependence of the practice of Dharma, then the Buddha should arise. The perfection of the Sangha, perfection of Dharma is the Buddha. So the Buddha would not be possible. If that is the case, then the 3 jewels are not positive. 31. For you, it would follow that a Buddha arises not in dependence upon enlightenment. And for you, enlightenment would arise not in dependence upon the Buddha. So the Buddha, say the Buddha and the enlightenment. Enlightenment is a quality of the Buddha. Let's say the Buddha Shakyamuni. Buddha Shakyamuni's and his Buddha Shakyamuni's quality of enlightenment. So enlightenment and the Buddhahood. So if these two are independently existent, they should not depend on each other. If they don't depend on each other, then even in the essence of enlightenment, somebody can be a Buddha. If that is the case, all of us should be Buddha now. We don't have enlightenment. I'm sure nobody has enlightenment. Do we have? If you don't have enlightenment, still don't what you can be Buddha. If these two exist independently. Okay. And then you can also posit enlightenment without being a Buddha. Even though you are not a Buddha, still you can have the full enlightenment. If these two things exist independently. 32. For you, in all those who are not Buddhas, due to the self-nature. Okay, how many of you are not Buddha right now? Raise your hands. Okay. In America, once when the Venerable Geshe Rinpoche, when he was incredibly great teacher, when he was going for the teaching tour, and he has such the radiance, amazing great teacher. You just see him and you can see the radiance, the humility, kindness, and the intelligence, the sharpness, all are there in him. And he, escorted by his attendants, were going in one place, and then he met one, say the person that was his, I think, the first time tour in America, and somebody, just happened to be there, the local American, and then local American, he first seeing Rinpoche surrounded by his attendants, and this local American, the gentleman, he said that you are a Buddha. He bowed. And then he doesn't speak English, but there's a radiance, a language of compassion is there, language of the love is there. And then Rinpoche smiled very gently. And then this gentleman said that, after saying that you are a Buddha, bowing, and then he said, I'm a Buddha, right? So what I'm saying is that if you're not Buddha, so it says that for you, in all those who are not Buddha, due to the self-nature, if you're not Buddha, as in through self-nature or through independently, then enlightenment could not be achieved, even though enlightened practices to obtain, even through enlightened practices to obtain enlightenment. No matter how much you practice, no matter how much you exert your effort in the practice of the enlightenment, practices to obtain enlightenment, you not being a Buddha, if it exists independently, nothing can change it. You will forever remain as the non-Buddha. So no matter how much you put a practice to become enlightened, you will never become Buddha. 33. Moreover, one could never perform Dharma and non-Dharma actions. So, okay, be good, do Dharma practice. For example, the Buddha taught one stanza which is very important. Commit no evils. This is summary. If somebody were to tell you what is the Buddha Dharma, if somebody would ask you what is the Buddha Dharma, what is Buddhism? What is Buddhism? You can summarize it so beautifully with one stanza said by the Buddha himself. That in English, in Tibetan, this is the Tibetan version. In English, commit no evils. Commit no evils. Accumulate as great wealth of virtues as possible. Subdue your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. So beautifully summarized in one stanza. Commit no evils. Don't do anything evil. Accumulate as great wealth of virtues as possible. Do all virtuous things that you can. Subdue your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Let me repeat it. Commit no evils. Commit no evils. Number 2, accumulate as great wealth of virtues as possible. Accumulate as great wealth of virtues as possible. Subdue your mind. This is the teaching of Buddha. Okay, for somebody who is not at all exposed to great philosophy, they can understand something out of that. Okay, I should not be doing bad things. I should do good things. I should always try to manage my mind, subdue mind. This is the teaching of Buddha. And then for somebody who is extremely learned in the philosophy, they can understand the same thing in a sophisticated way. Commit no evils. How many of you don't want suffering? All of us don't want suffering. If you don't want suffering, know that suffering comes from doing evils. Stop doing evils if you don't want suffering. Right? 1. Number 2, how many want happiness, to expand your happiness? All of us. If you want happiness, happiness comes from virtue. Expand your virtues. Accumulate as great wealth of virtues as possible. The next question, how can I do? Right? Oftentimes, this is what people they ask. They don't do bad things. Study well. Meditate well. Meditate 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day. Yes, I tried, but I fall asleep. Yes, I tried, but my mind always run here and there, right? And then, okay, study Dharma for at least 1 hour a day, at least for 2 hours a day. Yeah, but then I feel so tired. Then I feel so tired and I don't feel motivated. How should I? No, study. No, you meditate. This will not help. So, how not to engage in evil? How to accumulate great wealth of virtue? Is this all a mental phenomena? So subdue your mind. Learn how to subdue your mind. Let your mind be obedient to you. Learn. Just train your mind so that your mind will be obedient to you. At the moment, your mind. How does your mind behave? Right? How does your mind behave? Same. I don't want suffering. I don't want fear. And somebody bangs at the door, and there's so much fear coming. Your mind behaves. Your mind does not listen to you. Right? And somebody says, "What a stupid girl! What a stupid boy!" And you say, "You stupid!" Right? This is how a mind so instinctively react. Oh no! I attended His Holiness Dalai's teachings. I should not be, be harsh towards others. Even if somebody beats me, let them beat me. I will not say anything bad to us. And the person said, forget about beating. Somebody says, what a stupid person you are. Then you are stupid. Look, you're getting it? Forget about beating. Even if somebody uses harsh word, you can't bear it. So this is how a mind does not obey you. The mind is so disobedient. Now, train your mind, subdue your mind, let the mind be obedient to you. So with the bad things, the Buddha said, don't commit evils, and our mind is so addicted to doing evil things. And the Buddha said, accumulate as great wealth of virtues, and we feel so tired. And then this teaching, dear Bhakti teaching, okay, there's a teaching happening. Yeah, very good. How long? Is it for 1 month? Right? Oh, no, 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 no. It's for 5 days. Okay, then okay, I will sign up. You're getting it? If it's 1 month, oh no. If 1 year, no way. You're getting it? Okay, so this is how our mind is not eager to engage in the virtue. Because our mind does not listen to us. Right? Does not listen to us. Now, make the mind listen to you. Train your mind. Right? How should I train it? How should I train it? Okay, what Ridvi said yesterday, right? What Ridvi said yesterday, how to train the mind. Don't trust, don't let the mind behave in its own ways. How does the mind behave? The mind behaves with a basic belief that everything exists as non-dream, as truly, as independently. How not to do that? Wake up. You wake up, and then there's nothing there which will make you feel like not doing it. There's nothing there which will make you feel distressed or tired, exhausted, right? And then you will be very exuberant, you'll be very buoyant, you'll be very alert, fresh, compassionate, loving. All these things happen if you wake up. So subdue your mind, subdue the mind of the self-grasping ignorance. See the reality as it is, then everything will be in control, and your evil will subside automatically, and your virtues will proliferate. How? Subdue your mind of the self-grasping ignorance. How? By introducing the counterforce. What is the counterforce? The wisdom of emptiness. What is the wisdom of emptiness? The wisdom to know that nothing exists truly. Everything exists dependently, right? By knowing this wisdom, everything is empty of independent existence. By knowing this, what happens? That wisdom of emptiness is like the sieve or the tea strainer. Tea strainer, it does two functions. One, that the drinkable tea, it will let flow. It let the drinkable tea flow very smoothly. And then it will hold back. It will stop the non-drinkable tea leaves. You getting it? So within the mind, there are two. One is virtuous, like the drinkable tea, and one is non-virtuous, which is like the tea leaves, the residual tea leaves. There are two. So this wisdom of emptiness will let flow the virtues, like the tea, freely flowing through the tea strainer. Your virtues will grow. As the virtues grow, your happiness grows. That is the meaning of accumulate as great wealth of virtues. And the non-drinkable, the residual tea leaves will be blocked, will be stopped. All the negative thoughts will be stopped. This is the meaning of commit no evils. All evils will be stopped by the wisdom of emptiness. All this is say how the evil to be stopped and how to let freely flow of the virtues is by meditating on the wisdom of emptiness. With the wisdom of emptiness, it will subdue your mind. It will make the mind behave in the way you like. The mind will become so obedient to you. This is the meaning of the teaching of the Buddha. Okay, we'll stop here. Okay, any one or two questions you have? Okay, Mark?
Thank you, Geshe.
Welcome.
We talk about objective, when we talk about objective existence and we talk about the consequences of objective existence, sounds totally ridiculous. And yet the Buddha is saying that we always are walking around with this perception. Seems to me it's hard for me to know that I'm actually perceiving things objectively. So how can we be sure, how can I be sure that I'm perceiving things objectively?
Okay, this is a good question. Say, in fact, objective things and the consequence of objective things, we should put it slightly differently. Instead of objective things and the consequence, objective things do not have a consequence. Ignorance, misperceiving things as objectively. Ignorance, misperceiving things as objectively, and its consequence. We should have to put it like this. Or the mind or the view of the objective existence. You could put it in a very simple word, economy words, the view of objective existence and its consequences, rather than objective existence, because objective existence does not exist. It does not exist, it does not have any consequence. The view of objective existence and the consequences. So the point is, how do I know that I'm viewing things as object real? How do I know that? This is the crux of what we are doing. You're getting it? So there are 3 people who volunteered to remind me day after tomorrow. Who are the 3? Louis, Flavi, and Gorilla. 3 of them, right? Okay, first we have to check what they have to remind me. If they know what they have to remind me. Okay, so 3 of you tell me what should you be reminding me? Pallavi?
We have to remind you about the guide, the meditation on emptiness, Geshe-la.
Yes. So first, the meditation emptiness. How to meditate on the emptiness of objective existence. So for that matter, what are we seeing the emptiness of objective existence? No way. We are seeing the opposite. We are seeing the objective existence, right? How do you know that? So that is Mark's question. And then once you know that what I'm seeing is all seeing things as objective real, then how to rectify that? By seeing the emptiness of objective existence. How to do that? So the steps to meditate emptiness will be done day after tomorrow. Mark, your question will be, okay, the first thing, the Mark's question, how do I know that I'm seeing things as objective real? This is, and let me give the question, the answer here. So thereafter will be easier for us. How do I know that I'm seeing things as objective real? While in reality, nothing exists objectively. Nothing exists independently. How do I know? Okay. How many of you have watched a movie in a movie theater? Which hands? Thomas? Rithi? Okay. Payal? Payal Acharya? You watched a movie in a movie theater? Yes. Okay, all of us, including Dr. Subhashini. Okay. So we all watch a movie in a movie theater. Say that you are watching a movie here. The screen is here. You are watching a movie here. And tell me, where is this movie coming from? Where is this movie coming from? Thomas? Okay. Tell me, the Rithi. Rithi, raise your hand. Yes, tell me, where is the movie coming from?
On my mind.
Okay, but from your mind? Rithi, tell me.
Projector.
From the projector, yes. Right. Okay, so the movie is coming from the projector. That's true. Where's the projector? Where's the projector? Say you are watching the movie here in front of you. And where's the projector? Rithi, tell me.
At the back.
At the back. That's true. That's true. Okay, let us not forget this. You're getting it? You are watching a movie in front of you, and the movie is actually coming from the projector. You're getting it? Okay. Now, the movie is on the screen, but it's not from the screen. It's from the projector. You're getting it? Say this is the screen. You're watching the movie here on the screen, but the movie is coming from the projector. And the projector is behind you. You're getting it? The movie is here, and you are here, and the projector is here. So the movie is coming from the projector. When you look at the movie, particularly say that when you are very young, when the movie is very scary, like a ghost movie, you cover your head with the cloth. You fear. There's tremendous fear in you. You think that the movie is coming from the screen as a young child, right? Now we know that the movie is not coming from the screen, it's coming from the projector. So you're not scared of the screen. You're getting it? You know it's coming from the projector. Now, okay, all of you just pick up something. What is in front of you? Just pick up something and show that to me. Okay. Okay, good. Mobile, marker, mug, water bottle, then what is this? Pilavi, what is this? What do you have? Keychain?
It's a inhaler.
Inhaler.
Yeah.
Okay. Inhaler come keychain. Then Ritvi, what do you have? Toy. Oh, yeah, Ritvi has a toy, mobile. Okay, then the key bag. Okay, pen, spoon. Okay, so we have. Look at this. Look at what you're holding. Look at it. Okay, Mark, look at your mobile. You're holding the mobile. Now you look at the mobile. Don't look at this. Look at your mobile. Look at whatever you're holding. Look at it. Look at it. Okay, look at it. How does this? My question to you: how does this object appear to you? Does this object appear to you as though like your mind is the movie projector and projecting it there, or the object so independently there, nothing to do with my mind? From the object, it appears from the object to my mind rather than my mind projecting it. How does this object appear to you? Mark, tell me.
Here's not from my.
Exactly. We don't see the object as coming from your mind. We see the object as coming from the object. You're getting it? That is known as the objective perception. Perception of the object as objectively real. This is meaning. And this is deceptive. This is the greatest of the deceptive in this universe, which is responsible for creating all the problems today in the world, in the families, domestic violence, in the world, politics, and in COVID-19, the fear of COVID-19, and all the scandals, all the corruption, all the abuse. Everything is grounded on this belief that things exist objectively. That is the misperception which is responsible for all the problems. Okay, good. Any more questions? Okay, Dr. Subhashini ji.
My question is, how would you fit in conventional truth and ultimate truth in this discussion?
Okay, this is a very good question. How do you fit the two truths in this discussion? Let's say that okay, so let's say that the two truths, how do we fit the two truths in this discussion, ultimate truth and the conventional truth, is that when you speak about commit no evils, don't commit evils, how not say ultimate truth means from the object nothing is there. This is meaning of from the object everything is empty. Objectively things are empty. Object exists. Let's not forget it. Objects exist. Objects don't exist objectively. You're getting it? Objects exist. Flower exists. House exists. Good exists. Bad exists. Objects exist, but they don't exist objectively. Objects exist subjectively. Let's not forget this. With this mind, what is the ultimate truth? Ultimate truth is spoken of in the context of the object, and the conventional truth is spoken of in the context of the subject. Object, subject. From the object, object and from the object, these two are different. Object exists, but the object does not exist from the object. From the object is the meaning of objectivity. Object does not exist objectively. Objectively, object is empty. Object is not empty. Object exists, but object is empty objectively. So, emptiness of the objectivity of the object is the ultimate truth. Emptiness of the objectivity of the object is the ultimate truth. If the object doesn't, if it exists, but not from the object, how does it exist? It exists from the subject. It exists from the subject. So it exists from the subject means it exists by dependence of the subject. It exists by dependency. It exists by dependent origination. So when you know that nothing exists from the object, we come out of the dream. When you come out of the dream, all your evils stop. All your fears stop. You're getting it? The evils happening in the dream all stop and your fears stop. Okay. That is the meaning of don't commit no evils. Don't do any evils. This is meaning. So by understanding the ultimate truth, your evils will stop. Then by seeing the conventional truth, which is that things still exist. Things still exist by subjectivity. When you know that, that things still exist by dependent origination. By dependence on helping others, your happiness will grow. By dependence on compassion, your happiness will grow. So by understanding dependent origination, your compassion, your kindness, your generosity, all these virtues will multiply. You're getting it? Multiplied, this will give rise to your happiness. This is the meaning of accumulate as great wealth of virtues as possible. This is the second line. So understanding the ultimate truth helps us to be free from evils. So therefore you'll be free from suffering. Understanding the conventional truth, it'll help us to increase our virtues. That way we will expand our happiness. And finally, what we want is we want to get rid of all the fears by removing the evils. And we want to expand our happiness by expanding our virtues. So these two are the two final messages of the Buddha. How to do that is all on the basis of understanding of the two truths. By subduing your mind. How to subdue the mind? By knowing the two truths well. Okay, we'll stop here for today. And I will request...
Geshe, can I ask
to... Yes, Mark.
That is from?
Which one? Okay, this is this should be from Dhammavatta. This should be from Dhammavatta. Yes. Okay. By the way, Dhammavatta is an incredibly precious text. This is actually the direct teachings from the Buddha. It'll be good, and the Dhammavatta is available in English, so we can read. In fact, I read it so many times. Yeah. Okay, I request Untitled to do the meditation prayer. Been sharing.
Thank you, Kushla. Okay, additional dedication prayers. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praises by all the Buddhas who appeared in the 3 times, so that I may perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. Changchu Sem Chorim Poche Ma Ke Pana Ke Gyuche Ke Vanya Pa Me Pa Ya Kone Kong Du Pe Varsho. May the Supreme Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state. I dedicate the merit thus gathered towards the realization of the deeds and the prayers of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 3 times, and to the upholding of the Dharma and Dharma of teaching and realization. May I, in all lives, through the force of this merit, never separate from the 4 wheels of the Mahayana vehicle and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect view, and the 2 stages. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find new hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their illness, and may every disease in the world never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting one another. By the merits I have accumulated, may every single being abandon all forms of wrongdoing and perpetually engage in virtue. May they never be parted from the mind of bodhicitta, and may they always engage in the bodhisattva's conduct. May they be cared for by the Buddhas and relinquish all the actions of devils. May no living creature ever suffer, commit wrong, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, or their minds be ever be depressed. May all the pains of living creatures ripen solely upon myself, and through the might of the Bodhisattva Sangha, may all beings experience happiness. Having dispelled all inner and outer obstacles and downfalls, such as poverty, despair, oppression, cruelty, epidemics, and natural disasters due to environmental degradation, may all beings forever enjoy the glory of peace and happiness. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. By the power of practicing and supplicating to you, may all be free from sickness, poverty, and conflicts, and may Dharma and the auspiciousness proliferate in all places where we abide. The path of the union of emptiness and compassion is lucidly explained by the protector of both the Dharma and the beings of the land of snows. You are the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso. We supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans and non-humans who harbor malice through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be totally vanquished through the power of the truth of the three jewels. In all my by the dependent realization of the profound suchness of appearance and emptiness, together with the great force of great compassion of the three jewels and the power of the truth, and through the virtue of the infallible law of karmas and their fruits, may this truthful prayer of ours be unhindered and quickly fulfilled. May the teachings of this beneficent one till the world ends be unshaken by the winds of evil thoughts. May it always be met by innumerable beings who find conviction in the teacher by understanding the teaching's true nature. May I never falter even for an instant to uphold the excellent way of the sage, which illuminates the principle of dependent origination through all my births, even giving away my body and life. May I spend day and night carefully reflecting, but what means can I enhance these teachings achieved by the Supreme his efforts over countless eons. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the stages and the paths. May I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara throughout my future lifetimes. May I always be guided by Arya Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings on dependent origination in particular, even at the cost of my life. Har Suta Mantra 3 times. Tayatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhi Swaha Tyatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha Tyatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha. Thank you, Kishla. Thank you, Praveenji. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, all of you. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Geshe-la.
Thank you, Ritu. Yeah, thank you, Ritu.
I think somebody asked the question, where is this paragraph?